This is the process of creating the Synchronicity learning community. I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea what I'm talking about. No idea what I'm saying. And I'm so forgetful. And that's why I feel like if I work at this daily, it'll be a part of me and it won't be a matter of trying to remember. Just like I don't have to try to remember to talk to myself or edit the videos because I've done that process so much. So this is moving that into a different domain, that it's so much a part of me that this challenge of forgetfulness isn't a problem. And actually designing a life where one can deeply forget everything. That's kind of the point. Making these technological things into a skill and then forgetting all of the rest, forgetting it all. I want to forget. And Krishnamurti talks about a non-accumulative perception and action. And I feel that's another thing to move deeply into. Non-accumulative perception and action. He also called it unpremeditated art. Not premeditating, not accumulating, and then premeditating. Perception and action. And it's an art. Perhaps it's the art of living. The art of living beyond problems, perhaps. And this is what I'm wondering about. So if I feel like this financial thing is a problem, making it so it's not. And I feel like I might be able to figure that out. And lately I've been watching a few videos by Tim Ferriss, and I was thinking about not just watching motivational and inspirational videos daily, but making them. And I guess that's what I've been doing, but I could give them a different tone, which is less of the droning on and more fun and excitement. And I perhaps need to create that. And there are challenges to that for me right now. And that's okay. I think it's good that that's not really there, because then I can sit down, continue to be serious, and channel more energy into these online structures that I've been talking about. And this is me just trying to figure this out and talk to myself about this and talk myself into things and talk myself out of things and stuff like that. And can I go from a protective bubble of context that I've created to a creative bubble of embodied action? And I might want to create an intro video to the Synchronicity learning community. Can I communicate to my fullest expression? Can I have a non-accumulative fullest expression? And I realized too, what things, if I set them up, I'll never have to set them up again. So if I fully do my blog, all the elements that I'm finding to integrate into it, I never have to set that up again. Or I can just say to someone, can you make this look nice now? Or redo it all, but with these elements that I know that I like. Or add the elements that I don't know how to do myself and will never figure out, and someone can do that part. So, yeah. And I mentioned a lot of things in those 2 July 8th videos that I watched from last year, including transforming into my artist self. And thinking that at some point I might start wearing more makeup and just being more expressive, and because that's a theme that comes up, make myself into the artist version of myself, and all of life being an art, not painting and things like that, but every aspect of life, and making it fun and playful. So I found some vegan, cruelty-free, healthy-ish type makeup, and I think that'd be a cool part to show too, is here I am, this is what I look like, and what can I have fun with? And people do that all the time, for sure. Yet I don't necessarily have a full urge to do that, but I was thinking, hey, I could get pink highlights in my hair, or I could just be a little more edgy as a physical acknowledgement of that playful energy. And I don't know if it's necessary. It's something that I've considered. So I feel like this process of self-dialogue is really chaotic and all over the place, and I'm talking about one thing and then talking about a completely different thing, and then I'm back to the one thing I was just talking about that I forgot I was talking about, repeating myself. It's so non-linear, and this process helps me to have all that non-linear energy somewhere to go. And it's not just something like dissipating energy by punching a pillow alone in a room, but doing a process that could one day be shared, because this chaotic energy does want to reach out and share. It wants us to move in new ways, design a new life, explore, figure out what's right for us. And since it's not really safe to do that in a daily way, just wake up in the morning and leave the door and see what happens, by having this process, I can have that chaos going and have it channeled into this particular thing, so then I can get dressed, I can make food, I can interact with people, because I have a way to get this chaos to move, and it doesn't as much manifest in my daily life because I have this process. And it's not just me talking to myself in a corner, but it's something that can be shared, because this energy wants to create something to be shared. And this might not even be the thing, but it's at least allowing the flow of that energy to keep going. Similar to people having creative outlets, so they can do their 9-to-5 job, they have their sport on the weekend, or they have their painting on the weekend. This is my sport, this is my painting that keeps me able to move about in daily life. But I'm not sure how many of us ever really find a process that can do that for us, because we're so busy trying to manage. Or people might think that this energy shouldn't be humored in any way, shape, or form, and any strange thoughts or abstract ideas are something not to humor and talk about. But I'm feeling like the opposite is true. It's moving with that process of the brain, not resisting it, moving against it, trying to manage it. The thing is, by allowing it to move, one can then manage the areas of life that one needs to manage. And I don't know if this is true, but it seems to be somewhat true. So yeah, being all over the place within this interaction, me and my iPhone, and then in other domains of life, being able to be more linear in those domains. I imagine that if I didn't have this process on a daily basis, and then all my energy was diverted into managing my life and keeping symptoms away, and any thought or insight or anything outside my normal thinking would be, oh my gosh, it could be a symptom, I'm worried about that, and not engaging it, then pushing it away all the time, it builds up until it eventually overflows and then turns into something like a so-called mania. I feel like doing this every day is like having a little mini mania and then going home and doing the laundry, as opposed to waiting till it overflows and then ending up on the other side of the world in a few days or something. I've never done that. So yeah, I feel like it's important to allow that energy to move and do some of what it's trying to do. And I think this is partly true because I've experienced how sometimes people are around, and if I'm thinking I want to talk with myself, I'm a little bit more short with people because I have an idea, an agenda of what I want to do, and maybe I don't have the time alone to do it, and so my interactions with people are strained. So that can be a detriment of this. But then at the same time, if that creative energy or chaotic energy has nowhere to go, then I'm just being grumpy and moody to people all the time, and I don't know why. It's not I'm being grumpy and moody or a little bit short, and not really grumpy and moody, just feeling things internally like I want to go create this. Whereas if I don't know what it is that that energy wants to do, if there's no outlet for it, then it just translates into being grumpy and moody and all these things. And then one's said to have a mood disorder when really this energy wants to create something else, but we haven't found a process of allowing that energy to move. So then when we're going about our daily life, then we're fine. It's just like how some people, it's just a form of stress relief or pressure relief, and we all know there's a lot of examples of that out there. And for people who have this type of chaotic creative energy, just going and eating a cookie or going to jerk off in the shower isn't going to do it. And sometimes people even get hypersexual because this energy has to go somewhere. And so if we don't create something for it to go, then it's going to be translated into more of that which we're already really neurologically programmed to be, which is people are moody in general. But when there's this big energy, we're going to be even moodier, we're going to be even hornier, we're going to be even more after pleasure, because it'll just be channeled into the channels that are already there. So we need to create other channels for this energy to go, and that's part of what I've done by talking to myself so much. And I made a note to continue that mailbox metaphor I mentioned the other day about how I was trying to open the mail slot in the mailbox in the community, and it wouldn't turn, and I was trying to get the key to turn, and I didn't realize I'd walked by my correct mailbox, because there's several of them with the same numbers, but it's mailbox 1, 2, 3, 1 to whatever, etc. And I was thinking about how before I was really passionate about mental health, redesign in the system and change, and that was my focus. And now being outside of that and being on the micronutrients and seeing how that potentially changes everything for a person. And I'm not saying that it's going to work for everybody, but I feel if it works for me, it can work for other people. And then what is the need to focus on system change if people can self-direct themselves outside of all of it? So why would I go back to focusing on changing the system when individuals can change and move themselves out of all of that? It takes a lot of effort to move out of that vortex, that abyss. And hopefully when I share this, it might help some people to get out of that. I don't think I'm saying much that people like me don't already know or haven't already thought to themselves. And I noticed in the 2 July videos that I extrapolated, they were the third or fourth video that I did, and not much has changed in terms of how I'm thinking and seeing, and I've said it in a million different ways, but I think I'm saying the same thing in every video. And so if it's this little theme of insights and feelings and different things that I talk about, and I've extrapolated that 1,000 times, it's still just this core thing. So I feel like a lot of us have this core thing in common. We could express it in a million different ways or share that we had this experience or that experience. But when we get into the underlying meaning of it all, it comes back to this core of something. So I feel like people like me have a very similar core, and then it's expressed in a million ways. And I've expressed it in so many ways, but I'm saying the same thing. So a person might watch one video or all of them and notice, wow, I didn't really say too much different along the way. And so I'm saying that if it's just me saying the same thing over and over again, other people like me might have that same core that then they can go and express in a million ways, or just listen to how I've expressed it and then be able to, I don't know what, maybe unfold a slightly different trajectory of a life that is a little bit happier, a little bit healthier, and that's what I would wish for people. I feel really happy when people make positive changes for themselves and treat themselves well. And in saying that, when I've done the best in my life during this journey after being labeled, it's when I've been treating myself the best, when I've been eating a lot of raw vegan food, when I've been eating some superfoods, when I've been doing all these things. So when I talk about needing some money to live that way, that's actually when my energy is able to fully express itself, because I'm taking my own advice. I'm doing things to make my body healthier, which makes me happier, and then that health radiates. People notice that. I have better conversations. I'm able to connect with people more. It's easier to connect with people based on health, like food, than it is on all this abstract stuff that I've talked about. And in the past, it's been really interesting for me to study nutrition and health, and maybe one day I'll just talk about that stuff and none of the mental health stuff. And so in saying that, it'd be good to do that for myself and treat my body really well, and spend $600 to $1,000 a month on food only, because then I'm fully expressing myself. And if that is one of my needs, then it is one of my needs, and I can't deny that. Yesterday I made carrot ginger juice for the first time. I bought some carrots from Costco. They weren't organic, but they were local, and made carrot juice, and I'll probably do that again today. So that was something healthy. Yesterday, all I had was carrot juice. I wasn't feeling the greatest, and I felt like I need to fast a little bit. Today, all I've had is kombucha so far. So, yeah, this is treating my body by not eating so much rice. I eat a lot of rice because it's cheap, and I don't think that's helping my cause. So I'm trying to be cheap with that stuff, but then I'm wondering, well, where's the energy and where's the happiness when I'm not doing those things that when I do them, I'm the happiest. And it doesn't matter if I'm talking to myself and making videos and meaning, just doing those things for my body creates a different life. And I keep forgetting about that. And it's lovely to think, oh, it's good to be cheap on those elements, but maybe I need to move into not being cheap on that and just going into debt and seeing what I can create for myself, even going into debt, and hoping I catch up later. I did go to Costco and I got olives and I got kombucha, which I don't usually buy, and celery and more ketogenic type foods. And I even got avocados, and I'm letting those ripen. So I was going to wait till I ate up the bag of rice and all that Indian sauce, but I'm feeling like I need to move into treating my body better. And then that will likely give me a lot more energy to do all these other things that I'm wanting to do. And also remembering how much I do love health and nutrition. So one day maybe I'll work more in that domain than all this mental health stuff, because I have said this is passive advocacy. So maybe one day I don't even have to talk about this stuff ever again. And can I bring my enthusiasm in dialogue with myself to daily life, or be more enthusiastic in dialogue to be more enthusiastic in daily life? I need to create this in my nervous system. My nervous system is back to a bit of a blank slate. It's not that which it was for the last 6 years on meds, and it's not part of that life, and it's not the one that I had before I was ever labeled with a mental illness. So I'm kind of a blank canvas, kind of wondering what the heck, but I need to create myself. I need to recreate myself. I need to rediscover myself again. And I've talked about that since the very beginning and continuing with that process. And I also thought about playing the lotto every week for an entire year to give the universe an opportunity to give me abundance, and doing different things to invite synchronicity, like synchronizing by leaving altruism quarters or playing the lotto, which you can't win if you don't play. And we'll see. And I came across a document posted on the wall by the Health Authority for Mental Health saying something about these are the ways people should be treated when they're clients of the mental health system or something. It says individuals receiving services will blah 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 blah, and then the one that caught my attention was individuals receiving services will be informed about all aspects of illness and treatment. including risks, outcomes, and alternatives. And this is an interesting statement to me because, for one, we're not given information about alternatives. We're not told about micronutrients. We're not told about medication-free respites. We're not told that those things are going to be created one day, or that they even think that they should. So we're not given options of alternatives. And if there are alternatives, we have to find them ourselves a lot or pay for them ourselves. But we'll get the medicalized, pathologizing stuff that guarantees one will continue to live in that framework nearly forever, probably, most likely. And also, we're not informed about the risks of treatment. We're told about very few side effects. We're not given a printout with all the side effects of all the meds that the doctor's about to prescribe us. The psychiatrist doesn't go over that with us. Maybe a pharmacist might go over some of it when we're already prescribed it, but it's not part of the planning conversation. We're not told about informed consent in terms of how Dr. Kelly Brogan talks about iatrogenic illness, meaning one can develop symptoms and problems from being on the meds and trying to taper off of them that were never there before, that are a result of the medication, not of worsening of one's mental illness or anything like that. So we're not told about iatrogenic illness. We're not told if you're on this for more than a couple weeks, your body will be very addicted. It'll be very challenging to come off. You'll have symptoms that make it seem like your illness is getting worse, but it's because your body is adapted to these meds. So we're not told about the risks. We're told that the risks are higher of not being on the meds. That's kind of all we're told, and that we have to take them. And so anyways, didn't like that statement because it's not true. Another one, it says, be engaged in treatment options where and when appropriate, or treatment planning or something. And who determines when and where it's appropriate? Obviously in the psych ward we have absolutely no power, and receiving us in this powerless way nearly guarantees that we'll remain powerless or with very little power for the rest of our lives. And thinking that we need these treatments that we were given in that vulnerable and powerless state. And then the first one in the next section, I'll show you the photo, says something about we'll have a range of treatment options to personal needs and desires and blah, blah, blah. And to me that sounds like self-direction, but we don't have a full range of services to all of our desires. It's vocational, some psychosocial rehab with a bit of recreation, a bit of this, and it's not really self-directed. It's not really individualized. It's, well, here's this group. Do you want to go to it? Like, this is what's available. And hopefully one day it'll be self-directed, and people will get the amount of money they need and work to have just a very individualized thing. And maybe there wouldn't even be mental health services per se, but people would just be reintegrated back into the community right away because they're able to select exactly what they want to do. So that was an annoying poster. And I listened to a little bit of an Alan Watts clip the other day, and I love Alan Watts. I think he's one of the best. And he said, figure out a way that you can get paid for playing. And that is genius, and that's what I need to do. Because I don't think this self-dialogue is me playing, but I might be able to continue this process till mid-February and design a different life in the meantime, and then maybe get paid for playing. I don't know. I really don't know.